Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and M. Night Shyamalan trying to get his daughter a record deal. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at Trap.
Well, the feds or whatever heard that he's gonna be here today. So they set up a trap for him. This whole concert, it's a trap. Wow.
It was very upsetting.
Don't tell anyone, I'll get him deep back.
No.
This 2024 psychological thriller follows a father and teen daughter who attend a pop concert where they realize they're at the center of a dark and sinister event. That's all I'm gonna say for now, but there will be spoilers coming soon. Trap was produced, written, and directed by the Twist King himself, M. Night Shyamalan. He's brought us classics like Signs, The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and not-so-classic films like Old, The Happening, and The Last Airbender. Bro is the living embodiment of a mixed bag, providing us some of the very best and very worst films of the past 30 years. Somehow this is the first Shyamalan film I'm covering on the channel, and regardless of how much I like this particular film, I'm glad he's finally getting some representation on the channel. The film sprouted from conversations Shyamalan had with his daughter, singer-songwriter Salika. They discussed the idea of a concert and theatrical experience that shared an album and narrative, similar to how Prince wrote the titular album for the 1984 musical film Purple Rain. Shyamalan initially planned for someone else to actually make the film until he realized it was the perfect opportunity for him to collab with his daughter. Salika Night Shyamalan stars in the film as pop star Lady Raven, with Josh Hartnett from The Faculty and Halloween H2O playing Father Cooper, and Ariel Donahue from Blueback and Wolf Like Me as daughter Riley. The film was shot in Ontario, utilizing a 20,000-seat arena to film the concert. Cinematography was handled by Sayambu Muktipram of Challengers and Suspiria. Songs in the film were performed on stage as if it were a real concert with choreographers and videographers. The shoot involved thousands of extras who were not told what the film was about but received Salika's music beforehand to be able to sing along. Trap was released to theaters in 2024, making $80 million at the box office on a budget of $30 million, proving to be a big financial success. Critical response was a bit more mixed though. Some people love the film's tongue-in-cheek style, its contemporary nature related to TikTok dances and the Eras Tour, and great performances, but others felt that once you get past the sleek style, you quickly realize that the plot is riddled with holes, and the characters make some questionable decisions to say the least. It currently has a 57% and 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, along with a 2.6 on Letterboxd, so feelings on the film are clearly split. Thank you so much to my patron Horror Movie Syllabus for requesting Trap for me to review. This is one that I have admittedly been putting off watching just due to the quality of the last couple Shyamalan films I've watched and the very mixed reviews that I had been seeing about the film. So I'm really happy to now get a chance to dissect it in front of everybody. That being said, for my first watch, I tried to go in with zero spoilers and zero expectations and was hoping to have a good time. But I do want to recommend that if you have not seen Trap yet, you should go watch it for yourself before continuing with this review, as there are about to be a bunch of spoilers, and the twists and turns should be experienced for one genuine time at least. But hey, with all of that said, it's probably time we get started. I think you're looking for me, because we're watching Trap. The movie opens by immediately showcasing the music of Lady Raven in the opening credits, which unfortunately due to copyright I won't be able to play in this video. It's somewhere between Taylor Swift and Beyonce, but with a younger sensibility like Olivia Rodrigo. 14-year-old Riley loves Lady Raven, so much so that her dad Cooper has bought the two of them tickets to her concert happening this afternoon. Cooper and a horde of teenage girls spot the pop star on their way in, and while waiting in line, we learn Riley has recently had a falling out with her friend Jody. Because of this, she's been excluded by their friend group lately. These two honestly have a really sweet relationship. On their way inside, Cooper also notices a rather surprising amount of law enforcement present at the venue. Damn, they got the place surrounded. Riley screams her fucking head off as the concert gets started, which all in all seems like a pretty cool production. Cooper slips out to go to the bathroom where the first big twist is revealed. Turns out sweet old dad's got a man chained up in a basement somewhere. He also sees visions of an old woman who you could correctly guess is his mother. He runs into Jody's mother, who hopes the girls can be friends again one day. But at the same time, all her ex-friends are here together, so she's still being excluded. A whole bunch of SWAT teams roll up to the concert, even including the FBI. Lady Raven calls on her audience to forgive someone in their lives and hold up their flashlight if they feel like they've done so, which just about everyone but Cooper manages to do. He's too busy watching men get plucked out of the audience. Cooper befriends a vendor named Jamie and gets him to spill the tea on what's going on. Turns out the feds are here because they've gotten word that a notorious serial killer known as the Butcher is in attendance today. You got 3 guesses as to who the Butcher is. The whole concert is a trap to catch the killer, and aside from backstage, there is no way out. Cooper scopes out the security setup and pushes a drunk woman down a flight of stairs in the hopes of escaping. That doesn't work, so for now he goes back to the concert. Real-life rapper Russ pops in for a cameo as a teen heartthrob pop star, so that's fun, I guess. Cooper tries to convince Riley to climb underneath the stage with him, but she obviously says no to that. He leaves again to get Riley a t-shirt, actually getting Jamie to escort him to the back while he grabs a box of them. He quickly snags his employee keycard. Turns out Jamie's a true crime nut and actually got a picture of one of the Butcher's crime scenes. He also spills that the employees have a special code word in case they are stopped by police. The code word is Hamilton, which I assumed was related to the play somehow, but it's actually one of the cities the film was shot in, even though the whole thing is supposed to take place in Philly. Jamie gives him a free shirt, which may be why Cooper doesn't murk his ass with his own box cutter. He uses Jamie's card to get to a back office where the police are holding a briefing about the Butcher. He manages to cosplay as an employee restocking the coffee, snagging a police radio in the process. He also witnesses the FBI take down a suspect, with one woman in particular seeming to be in charge. She's a profiler named Dr. Grant, and no, it's not
Alan.
Over the radio, he listens to her declare that the man they apprehended is not the Butcher. Their killer is smart and level-headed, and he's probably looking for a way out by now. He learns the police have various descriptions of their killer, but one of them matches him down to a specific tattoo. Hey, nothing a bracelet won't fix. He also learns that they have contingency plans in case he calls in a bomb threat or pulls a fire alarm. He decides to take a look at the stadium's roof, causing a deep fryer to explode on some poor employee so he can sneak in. It's obviously swarming with officers though, but Cooper's able to use the grease accident, the Hamilton code, and the very lucky fact that the apron he snagged has some kind of special card given to employees to convince them that he's legit. He hallucinates his mom again, and concerned Riley asks him to stop leaving every 10 minutes. She shares that for a song called Dreamer Girl, they pick a girl out of the audience and she gets to go on stage and backstage with Lady Raven. Hey, that sounds like a get out of jail free, so Cooper walks right up to M. Night fucking Shyamalan, who is playing Lady Raven's uncle, who is a spotter at the concert. He tells Uncle M that Riley just recovered from leukemia, so that obviously gets her chosen to be Lady Raven's Dreamer Girl. They get escorted past security backstage, where Cooper eyes the woman trying to hunt him down. Riley joins her idol on stage, much to Jody's chagrin, and Cooper tries to focus on what is probably going to be Riley's last good memory for the near future. He catches an exhausted teen and carries her to the medic station, putting his firefighter skills to use. Then Kid Cudi pops in for a cameo as a big, mean gay pop star known as The Thinker. Riley and Cooper are kept backstage so they can say farewell to Lady Raven, and Cooper overhears Dr. Grant doubling down on security. Even backstage, he'll have to go through a security check, where the police at the very least will take down his information to look into him later. Realizing he's out of moves, he pulls Lady Raven aside and reveals himself as the butcher. Apparently, he has some gadget set up to release carbon monoxide into the room that his captive Spencer is locked in, so if he's caught, he will make sure he dies. She reluctantly agrees to let them bypass security and ride in her limo away from the stadium if he lets Spencer go. The plan mostly works, at least until Lady Raven asks Riley if she can visit their home. Looks like we have a musical vigilante on our hands. We arrive at their home and meet Mom Rachel and young son Logan. Cooper gets Lady Raven alone and threatens to kill her and Spencer if she says anything, but she says she won't. Rachel serves up some tasty pie and shares that Cooper is really good at finding unique jewelry pieces supposedly on sale. Right. Lady Raven does reveal to Rachel that the concert was a sting operation to catch the butcher though, as apparently the killer left part of a receipt for the concert ticket at one of his crime scenes. Apparently the butcher has several safe houses in the city, which is where the receipt was found. She also shares that the killer is suspected to have OCD due to his meticulous planning and cleanliness, and they believe he drives a dark-colored car. Cooper tries to get her to leave when she brings up the butcher's mommy issues, but she decides that she's gonna play one last song before she does so. She snags Riley's phone so that way she can borrow Cooper's so the girls can take a selfie together. She bolts to the bathroom with it and unlocks Cooper's camera app as Cooper bangs on the door. Spencer manages to tell her that during his kidnapping he saw a broken lion statue and that the house he's in has a blue door. So like all great detectives, Lady Raven hops on Instagram Live and asks her teenage audience if any of those details sound familiar. While Cooper and his family fight, she manages to reach someone who magically knows the exact fucking house, and she has that teenage girl and her uncle break in to rescue Spencer. Next, she shares with Rachel that Cooper is without a doubt the butcher, and a lot of screaming ensues on the other side of the door. He eventually unlocks the door and retrieves his, Riley's, and her phone, and he's shocked to see Spencer has vanished. He grabs his murder bag and loads her into Rachel's car, as his is in fact black. She tries to pull some Friday Part 2 shit by impersonating Cooper's mother. During their back and forth, we learn that he was punished a lot as a boy, and he believes there is a monster inside of him. Her attempt at therapy doesn't work though, as Cooper plans to kill her and himself to finally end this. But Cooper is surprised to see that his family has escaped the room he locked them in, as he never thought about his own home as a place where he'd have to trap people. Lady Raven hops out and leads them to her limo, and all Cooper can think to do is remind them of various chores and homework assignments as he shuts the garage door. A fuck ton of SWAT trucks pull up to the house, and Cooper tidies up before sneaking away in a secret underground tunnel. Okay, sure. Apparently within a few minutes at most, Cooper was able to take down an officer in the neighbor's yard, steal his uniform, and walk right up to the scene and drive away with Lady Raven in her limo. That was easy. He handcuffs her to a handrail, also sharing that he uses his firefighter knowledge to use condemned homes as his safe houses. Cooper says he gets the urge to kill people who seem to think they're whole, while he believes that we're all actually in pieces. She manages to roll down the window and ask the crowd for help, eventually breaking free and jumping out. The crowd surrounds the limo as the SWAT team rolls up, but Cooper is able to use the commotion to change clothes and make yet another getaway. For some reason, Lady Raven is brought to the home Spencer was held at, where she gets to meet him and the girl who saved him. Yep, that's a blue door, alright. Dr. Allen consoles Rachel, telling her that her husband is an expert at wearing masks to hide how different he really is. The kids are staying at their aunt's house, but for some reason she opts to stay home alone with just 2 police cruisers outside. So obviously Cooper shows up as she's making a cup of tea. He's always been perfect at keeping his 2 lives separate, so he's been pondering how all of this could have happened. It turns out that Cooper's late nights and random jewelry gifts got her suspicious of an affair, but the real ringer was that she could smell professional cleaning fluids on his clothes. She also witnessed him lie to a neighbor once, and it came so naturally to him that it gave her chills. She followed him out to one of his safe houses where he plans, where she returned and left a portion of the receipt and called in the location from a payphone. She hoped that she was wrong, but obviously she wasn't. He agrees to sit down and finish Riley's celebratory pie together before he kills her. He admits that he feels so much rage towards her for her betrayal, which is actually a new feeling compared to his victims. He's enraged that he'll never get to see his kids again, so at the very least, that part of him was real. Cooper starts to feel a little woozy here, realizing that he's been drugged with his own stash, which seems to prompt some heavy-duty hallucinations. His mother tells him that not all of him is a monster, and she accepts him for who he is. This leads Cooper right into a taser ambush, although the big boy takes quite a few volts and manages to gouge out an officer's eyes. Dr. Grant, who was the one cosplaying as his mom, finally brings the big man down. Damn, Rachel, you tough as hell for setting this up. But for some reason, the fucking cops simply allow him to fiddle with one of the kids' bikes in the yard, under the guise that he's propping it up due to his OCD. They also allow him to fucking hug his daughter. Yeah, that would definitely happen. They cart the killer off, only to reveal that he broke a spoke off the bike. Who would have guessed? Cooper uses it to unlock his handcuffs to end the movie. And that's Trap. Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts on this one. There are a lot of elements that I truly enjoyed, but also a lot of elements that I really hated. Trap falls into a lot of the same issues that I've had with most Shyamalan films from the past 10 years or so. Something about the way this man writes dialogue just drives me fucking crazy. Everybody is just a little bit off and uncanny and inhuman. Trap honestly isn't as bad as some of his other recent films, but all of the dialogue is so exposition heavy and lacks any personal character. It's really just designed to get characters from point A to B to C as quickly as possible. There's very little character development of any substance. It rarely feels like there's ever two real people talking to each other. I can give Cooper a pass for that because he is meant to be this weirdo serial killer, but just about everybody else that he chats with is just as fucking weird. Everywhere Cooper goes, there just happens to be a damn group briefing or person involved in this sting operation that's super happy to share all the confidential info they can. That being said, Josh Hartnett and Ariel Donahue do shine as father and daughter. Their moments together did have me hooked in the first half. And for me, the first half is by far the strongest part of the film. Watching Cooper slowly gather info and sneak his way into different parts of the building was very fast-paced and engaging. For me, there was a little bit of magic being built up in the beginning, with Cooper being surrounded and there seemingly being no way out. My honest belief is they should have never left the stadium setting. Obviously, this would have changed the story quite a bit, but I think that certain characters could have been relocated and reworked a bit to make that work, and I feel like it would have been to the film's benefit. The claustrophobic feeling of the cops closing in on him in the first half was effective, but all of that gets tossed once we leave the stadium. The decisions for Cooper to just reveal himself to Lady Raven and her decision to just take the serial killer home are both just absolutely bizarre and make no sense. There were some weird character decisions before this point, but at this point the film really just lost me. I'm gonna circle back to this, but I also need to add in another big issue that will tie into it as well, and that is that I have never seen such blatant nepotism in a film before. You'll hear this in every single YouTube review of this film, but the entire fucking point of this movie is so M. Night Shyamalan can show off his daughter's acting and singing skills. Bro, we have to listen to her sing for so long. Oh, actually, I do want to take back my point about this being the worst defense of this I've ever seen. I forgot about Sherry Moon Zombie for a minute, but this does come in as a solid second place. There is a small part of me that thinks it's nice and sweet that they made this project together, but the rest of me is very annoyed at the very premise of it. I didn't mind Salika when she was performing on stage. Honestly, the music sounded really good and fit the film well. But the moment she gets to basically become the protagonist is where the film loses me. She wasn't terrible in the role, but the acting chops were not there to justify basically giving this feature-length film to her. Oh, and the fucking scene where M. Night is playing her uncle and yapping about how special she is. What the fuck are we doing here? Not to mention he just produced his other daughter's film, The Watchers, which also suffers from ridiculous, inhuman dialogue. Look, I'm glad he loves his kids and wants to help them, but at a certain point, they are gonna have to prove their own skills without being literally directly attached to their father. But back to my point, M. Night has Lady Raven make this absurd decision to go to the killer's house just so Salika can have more screen time. Like, that makes no sense and would never naturally be written into a script, so it just really blatantly shows that it was a decision made so that his daughter could take over the third act. And there are so many other ridiculous plot points, like Jamie letting Cooper into the storerooms, Lady Raven hopping on social media for help instead of contacting the FBI who was literally working with her, and the fact that move actually fucking worked and resulted in Spencer being rescued. The FBI not checking the security footage after the grease explosion, the FBI letting Rachel use herself as bait in her own home, the FBI letting Rachel and her kids stay at their home after Cooper's arrest as if it's not an active fucking crime scene, and all the mental gymnastics you need to do for the whole receipt being left at a crime scene being anonymously called in and resulting in this giant sting operation lead to this film constantly feeling far-fetched. I think about a lot of really great thrillers and police procedurals that pay a lot of attention to detail when it comes to the killers and the detectives going tit for tat with each other. Films like Prisoners, Zodiac, Manhunter, and even really fun ones like Knives Out. Even a simple comparison to those films showcases the lack of depth and detail that went into this script. And I don't want to hear the, oh, you can just turn your brain off for it. Like, no, like, give me something smart that I can chew on. I don't want to be able to poke holes through your fucking story like Swiss cheese. I don't go in wanting to do that. The OCD and mommy issues feel shallow and generic. The secret underground tunnel into the neighbor's yard is literally just lazy writing. Why didn't Cooper get stopped and questioned during the dozen times he was wandering around? If Rachel thought her husband was the butcher and she set him up to be caught at the concert, why the fuck did she let her daughter just go to this horrible situation? What was her plan? For her husband to get arrested right in front of her and then the poor girl would, Uber home? It's so disappointing because the premise is so cool and unique, but it is constantly bogged down by cliches, contrivances, and conveniences at every turn. I can certainly suspend my disbelief depending on the type of movie. I obviously watch a fuck ton of like monster movies and I know these things aren't real, but I can believe it in that moment. But Trap is setting itself up to be this very realistic human story, but it's still pushing things as far as believability goes at every single moment. Okay, but with all of that said though, I still managed to have a pretty good time with Trap though. Honestly, the one thing really keeping it afloat is Josh Hartnett. He manages to make both the script and character work. I really enjoyed watching Cooper throughout this movie. There are some really nice camera moments, like Cooper's face being cut in half like Jekyll and Hyde when he's mentally switching between his lives. And from a technical aspect, the film is very well made, and I was glad it kept up a fast pace throughout the entire runtime. There is also a lot of quirky and dark humor in here that does help soften the blows of all the plot contrivances, because a lot of them are played for laughs. And there is something really interesting to be said for the tongue-in-cheek way that Shyamalan is making a film with his daughter about a father and daughter, and how it ties into his own fears about letting her down or hurting her. Most of his films are centered around the destruction of a family, and this is the first time that that destruction truly comes from within. At the end of the day, Trap is mostly just trying to have some fun, and I think it succeeds at that goal. I can understand if you get more out of the film than I do. At the very least, it's really fun watching Josh Hartnett just have a blast on screen. There were enough clever and genuinely funny moments to keep me from having a bad time, but I also constantly found myself distracted by the big variety of unlikely bullshit happening on screen. It's a mixed bag with good and bad performances, a great premise with middling twists and turns, and a casting that is thematically interesting but practically disappointing. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much to my patron Victor from the Horror Movie Syllabus for requesting Trap for me to review. I was a little bit worried when I first wrote out this mean-ass script, but then I went and saw your Letterboxd rating for it and I knew I'd be in the clear. But have any of you seen Trap? And if so, what did you think of it? Was I a little too tough on it today? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. And be sure to join me next week as we check out a brutal film called Revenge. Thank you all so much for joining me, and an extra thank you to my patrons. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks so much for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Trap. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror movie reviews. And if you want to help support the channel further, you should check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks, y'all.